It's already been a week, but that yard is still looking bleak. And despite digging all the dirt you can fling, you still can't find the rhythm of spring. But that's okay, my dude, because Josh and David can lift any mood. So instead of giving in to disillusionment, get ready for a heavy metal home improvement. Live from the Green Room Studios on the spacious property of Bates Nursery and Garden Center at 3810 Whites Creek Pike. It's the At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates.
Yes, calm down, everybody. It's the At Home Show. I know you're all excited and everything's going to be great. It's a nice, cool morning to just kind of sit back and lay and watch the At Home Show. Flip it up to the big screen there in the living room or the bedroom, and in the kitchen. Put it anywhere. Take it out to the pool. Watch it on your pad, on your TV, but just watch it. We appreciate it when you do so. Good morning, everybody. I'm Josh Cary.
And I am David Bates.
Yes, you are. And you're
glad to be here this morning. Great to have everyone on board today, and quite a departure weather-wise today from what we have seen.
Yes.
Over the past few days. A decidedly chilly morning, 54 degrees here in the Music City currently, and that's not going to change a whole lot today.
Did you order it this way, David?
I did not, because usually when a Memorial Day weekend rolls around, you're thinking really hot temperatures, not unusual for it to be in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
We did see some of that earlier in the week. However, this next week, we're not going to see that. 60 degrees for the high temperature today and cloudy conditions. It might not be wonderful lake weather, but for gardening weather, it could not be better. Really wonderful. We got some good rain yesterday, and that certainly helps with ground moisture. So all the planting projects you may have in mind, it's time to really get those lined up. Tomorrow, we're going to have sunny conditions, 73 degrees, 48 for the overnight low on Monday, 79, 58. By the way, Bates Nursery will be open from 9 a.m. until noon on Monday. Be mindful of that. Tuesday, 82, 61 in cloudy conditions. So we will have warmed up about 20 something degrees from today, but it still will be cloudy. And then we have a significant chance of rain beginning Wednesday through the rest of the weekend. It would appear that at this point it's forecast to go on through the entirety over those several days. We'll see how that actually pans out. And again, currently it's 54 degrees here in the Music City.
David Bates, you notice that there's one of the members of the crew is not in the green room.
Yeah, a big happy anniversary to
Moose,
Michael, and his wonderful family.
Is she Mrs. Moose? And little baby Moose? They're out running around doing some other things. But in studio, who sitting in Michael's chair is who?
We have got Cary Gant sitting in.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning.
We're in the controls on the audio side, so thanks, Cary, for being here this morning. And she's going to be pulling double duty. She and Tyler are going to got some in-studio demonstrations to do today.
Yes.
We'll talk about those as we go through the program. And I understand we've got some Instagram questions out there that we're going to be dealing with through the morning. And you just never know. We, of course, invite you to engage with us. We don't have the ability to read the text messages over our number this morning because Michael's out and he has the bat phone, but you can certainly message us on Instagram or on Facebook, and we'll get those live on the air during the program. So, and
also across the way down to the amphitheater area of the Green Room studio. Who do we have sitting in studio this morning?
We've got the Lowen Report dude himself, Austin Lowen. Welcome,
with Austin.
Glad to have you on board this morning. And of course, Austin and Cary will both be joining us for the duration. And let us not forget the man behind the master controls is Tyler Blankenship. And Tyler, go ahead and give yourself. There you are. There's Tyler.
The Tyler cam is up.
I'm the guy popping boxes everywhere on the screen.
I started off the morning calling him Michael repeatedly, so I'll go ahead and try to,
There always has to be a Michael,
there.
David. That's what I have understood this morning. Somebody's got to be the Michael.
glad everybody's on board this morning.
Yeah, their back is going to hurt by the time they get done from carrying the show this morning. I can tell you that. Yeah.
So it's everybody, I'm sure, got rain yesterday. Most areas got a half inch or more in the metro area. Many got a fair amount more than that, but certainly the dust has now officially settled, and there was a lot of it going around over the last bit, and the weather conditions for the week ahead look to be very favorable with regard to keeping the dust at bay and continuing on, because even though Memorial Day kind of is the unofficial start to summer, we're still very much in spring, and we've got at least 3 more weeks of that out ahead of us here, and we're going to make the best of it. And of course, we're here to help you through your gardening things that you might have going on, and invite you to engage with us here on the At Home Show.
Well, I have a question first and foremost this morning. Where are the cicadas?
Oh, good one.
They're coming.
They haven't shown it yet, and more often than not, the hype does not match the actual event. Now, I have read earlier that in Davidson County, there won't be as bad unless you live in the easternmost part of Davidson County. It'll mostly be more in Wilson County, and perhaps Rutherford may also get a bit more, but they're either late or light emerging. So there was one year back in the 80s where they were extreme, and it went on for weeks. And we've had a couple of other ones over the course of time since then that have been noticeable.
Back around turn of the century was a bad one too, in that 99, 2000.
Oh, I remember that one.
You must have been a little child then.
Yeah, I was 2.
Oh.
Just kidding, I wasn't 2. A little bit older than that.
You behaved today. Oh my goodness. Talking about age, but
so anyway, we will be talking about cicadas. There will be some impact. Now, cicadas are not going to kill anything.
No.
The damage that you can receive from cicadas in your landscape is generally limited to trees that are smaller in stature. The things that you'll be most concerned about would be things like Japanese maple, because they tend to be the more expensive and smaller sized trees, but they lay their eggs on small branches that are probably the diameter of a number 2 pencil or smaller, and they lay the eggs under the bark. And what can happen is that there can be scarring that occurs there, and a branch can, what we refer to as, flag on it. And Austin, you jump in here and talk about this at any point you like. The effects of flagging are just that you may lose a branch here or there, but it certainly is not going to impact the tree.
No, there's been a little bit too much hype, I think, with people around town and getting all worried. Cicadas come out every year. It's just some years are worse than others. So, the amount of damage you're going to actually receive on your plants is usually going to be minimal. So, nothing to really worry about too much. Like David said, I mean, you might have a limb or two go, but nothing that's going to cause any concern.
And at the end of the day, the dead bugs are going to be really beneficial for everything, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, all animals. And I mean,
even at the beginning of the day, Josh, those bugs will still be dead.
At lunchtime too, David?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, both ends of the day, including the middle. So,
all right, well, reach out to us, folks. We do not have the bat phone this morning, but you can reach out at Instagram.
We do have a question now.
Okay.
Already got one on our At Home page, Instagram. So we have a question from Lindy Susie B. What are some flowering potted plants that will thrive on a mostly shaded patio?
New Guinea impatiens come to mind.
Yep.
That's a good little plant. Any impatient, for the most part, I mean, can handle some shade and still like full show bloom in like pretty heavy shade. We still have a number of those.
Here's a slightly technical twist on that question, and we went through an issue a few years ago with downy mildew on common impatiens, and consequently they almost were dropped from the lineup. Has enough time passed where the pathogens associated with that kind of gotten away so that those can be reused reliably successful in your opinion? Or
in my opinion, yes. They scouted though, and we scouted as well. Scouting is just a fancy term for looking at your crops and seeing what's going on. And over the past years I've been here, I've scouted 4-pack impatient flats, these regular old impatiens, looking out for that. And I know that other, nurserymen have as well. So it seems like that's become less of an issue than it was, I'd say, like 2 or 3 years ago. There was really at the height of that. But I have not seen it. Like I said, it's been scouted in depth. This year, I have not seen a flat at all that's had any sort of mildew problem. And I've actually purchased impatiens. I use impatiens every year in my pot. I've got a shady front porch pot as well. And I use it with caladiums and other shade-loving plants. And I've seen no issues. So, yeah, you're right. It was definitely concern, but it's not out of the trade anymore. We still have plenty of 4-pack impatiens back there. So using those, they're cheap. They're good filler material. Mixing those in with caladiums, with, a lot of caladiums or coleus even for some foliage color, and then blasting some flower power off in that pot as well with your impatiens is a good little mix for your shady front porch.
Now, a pretty pot is going to help out as well. Right?
Oh, for sure. We got pottery, yeah.
We do.
But it seems to me that, again, a mostly shady, I imagine there's more sunshine on that porch than they actually think. Don't you, Austin?
Almost always. Almost always when people talk to me about shade areas, it's almost always more sun than they think. So a common misconception is that full sun means sun literally from all day long, from the morning all the way to the end. That's not a full sun environment. Full sun, we really only term is roughly 4 to 6 hours. 6 hours being at the top end of that, but 4 to 6 hours of sunlight a day is plenty for a full sun plant. It's not plenty for a full shade plant.
The biggest issue that a lot of people will have is that if they misinterpret it and they try to put common impatiens in a spot like that, and it's south facing and it gets all the afternoon sun, it could be adjustable if it's an east.
David froze just a little bit, but I think what he was saying is that as they go around, the sun travels across the sky. So you're going to have some in the morning, some in the afternoon, depending upon the orientation of your home. The only time that I could see this being a real bad issue would be in some of these high rises that we see and some of the tall skinnies that are around, where you've got 4 or 6 feet between some of the houses and maybe an alcove type of an offset where you're only getting the possibility of one sun direction as it goes up or down. So, all right. But David, don't you think it's a little mean to call them common impatiens? I mean, wouldn't it be?
When you compare them to sun patients or New Guinea, they are indeed common, and they are a more economical source. But I tell you what, they are for years and years. Normal or the common impatiens were the go-to for shade gardening. Now, what has occurred as a result of this downy mildew that attacked them some years ago is that it really has brought the sun patients and New Guinea impatiens to the forefront, and those give you a lot more. They have a lot more spectacular look to them. The normal regular impatiens are great in mass, but you get a little more stand up on the New Guineas and the sun patients. So consequently, when you get those in a container or a pot, they just put on a lot more of a show. They do cost more, and they don't.
Right.
So if you're covering a big area, it's going to cost you more money to go that route. But I definitely am a huge fan of impatiens. And back in the day, we used to order mixed impatiens by the cartloads, and it was by far and away the biggest selling single item that we sold in annual flowers.
Mm-hmm. Now, was the pathogen just naturally occurring, or was it a vendor issue, or was it coming from a particular grower or anything, without naming names or pointing fingers, because those things are going to happen?
Austin, you got any insight on that?
Yeah, I mean, it was across the board.
Okay.
It was something that all of them had to kind of deal with, and I'm not sure exactly if it came from where it came from, because most of those impatiens are grown from seed. Just the common impatiens, they pop up pretty easy, but they were seeing it after, and I want to say that can't remember what it was, but yeah, it was across the board. But like I said, it's pretty well done now. And I wanted to talk about sun pations specifically.
Okay.
You talk about impatiens being a classic shade plant, and they are like super shady. They'll still bloom. And whenever they came out with sun pations, I looked at those and I said, sun pations, I don't believe it. I ain't gonna put these things out in full sun all day long. There ain't no way. Well, I did. I observed them, and I'm not even joking. All day long, these sun pations got sun, and they perform beautifully. I mean, no wilting. As long as they're, as the moisture is there, they will perform. And they end up being like shrubs by the end of the season. I'm not even joking. Like 2 foot tall, 2 foot wide, blooming shrubs that live literally in the sun all day long. The New Guinea impatiens can take some sun as well, but they're not quite there yet. They're not like full sun all day. But those sun pations, I'm telling you, they'll handle it all day long, and they are gorgeous. They fill up a lot bigger area, so you can use, like David was saying, they're more expensive, but you can use less of them. Those little common impatiens, you got to put those things in pretty tight in mass, like David was saying. In mass, they're fantastic, but you need a bunch of them. Those sun patiens, you need way less, and they fill a huge area. It's a fantastic plant.
That's a common hanging basket plant as well, isn't it?
It can be, yeah. It's not necessarily like a spiller or anything. You almost have to kind of put some spillers in with it to kind of get that draping effect. But for the center of a pot, yeah, most definitely.
Awesome.
One of the things I think it's important to mention is that the growth that you're talking about obtaining on some of those sun patients, Austin, really comes as a result of having the proper soil preparation or the proper soil mix for those to be grown in. And once you talk just a minute about, we've got a special going on this weekend. Actually, it goes on through Thursday of this coming week, where we have 2 products that we're featuring, and we'll talk about them a little bit of length today. Earth Mix Garden, which is our premium topsoil blend, and also Earth Mix Proganics I, which is an indoor mix. And these are ready to use. You don't have to do anything else to them products. Talk for a minute about getting things planted in the right mix and how that makes the difference and what the end result is going to be.
Mm-hmm. And that's for sure. And that's for with every plant you ever plant, is get in the bottom, below the ground where you want it before, if you have good stuff down below, you're probably going to see some good stuff up top. So it kind of depends on where you're planting them. So if you're wanting to plant these plants in the ground, you're going to prep with our Earth Mix Garden product, which is our best seller by far. It's a $6.99, bag that's got just tons of good stuff in it. It starts with topsoil, so it's got a little bit of moisture retention. It's going to hold some water for you, which is good, especially for those sun patients. So what you're going to do is you're going to prep your bed with it. Well, what I like to do is just kind of cast it, scatter it all across the whole top of the soil, and then work it in, kind of, till it up with a shovel or with the whatever you got, a little mantis type deal, whatever, and get that prepped before you ever even plant. Try not to do it afterwards, do it before, get the soil prepped ready, and then you can get that stuff planted in the ground and packed in there nice and tight, and then watered really well, and you'll have a lot better success. And then if you're wanting to
I want to ask you to do something here, Austin. Stand up there and pull the corners of that bag up so folks can see the label. It's kind of scrunched. There you go. That makes it a lot more visible. You got it. You can release it now. I think we're good.
Yeah.
It was kind of laying down there, but
Foxes like it too.
Do they?
Yes, they do.
Well, tell us about your experience with that, Josh.
In particular, again, it smells so good. I think we had the family of foxes living in the yard. I think they just wanted to get in there and see exactly what was going on with it because it smells so good. But Austin, you brought up a great point. My little mantis type tiller, one of the best tools I've ever owned.
They're great.
I mean, and easy to use, and light. You're not wrestling a 24-inch rear tine tiller. I mean, it's amazing what they'll do.
Mm-hmm. And then, prepping with your...
Give me just a second here, Austin. We're going to talk for just a minute about what we do here at Bates Nursery and Garden Center and kind of invite folks to come out. I know this is a day that is unusually cool compared to what we've seen over the past week. We will be open today from 9 until 4 p.m. on Sunday, noon until 4, and Memorial Day on Monday, 9 a.m. until noon. So get those dates and those times in your mind. Today, 9 to 4, Sunday, noon to 4, and Monday, 9 a.m. till noon. Everybody's going to take off on Monday afternoon. We want to try to give everybody a break and kind of celebrate having survived to the Memorial Day weekend, and it's no small feat when you're in the garden center business. So I'm appreciative of all the wonderful folks I have that I get to work with every day at Bates Nursery and Garden Center. So we invite you to come out, and as a token of our appreciation, Earth Mix Garden and Earth Mix Proganics Eye in bags are all going to be 30% off for our Bates Rewards members. And if you get the newsletter I send out every week, you are one of those folks. And if you happen to be watching and you're not, you want to get those, all you got to do is sign up. It only takes about 30 seconds to sign up, just your name and your email address. And if you receive my email and you decide you no longer want to receive it, well, you can unsubscribe to it. Like, there's a lot of folks who seem to get something out of it, and we're appreciative of that. We've got nearly 26,000 subscribers, which continues to blow me away that there's that many folks who would subscribe to it, and a lot of folks read it every week. So we thank you for that. Of course, we're talking about growing your plants and doing the very best with them, and getting good plants to begin with is a critical part of that equation, and keeping them their best is where the soil comes in. So we're really proud to be suppliers of products from premium growers all across the country, whether it's Monrovia or Isley Nursery, Flowerwood. We have a great list of wonderful growers. And then we have a great selection still of annual plantings. Don't forget about your garden. It's not too late to plant vegetable plants, and we've still got a great selection of peppers and tomatoes and a lot of other things. So come on out and see us at Bates Nursery and Garden Center, where we are conveniently located 1 mile north of Briley Parkway at exit 19 on Whites Creek Pike. It's just minutes from Rivergate, Opera Mills, Nashville West, downtown Nashville. And I promise you, it's worth the drive from anywhere. And you can get to talk with great horticultural experts like Austin and Cary and our entire staff. So you're going to get information. Bring photographs on your smartphone or your tablet along with you, and that helps us to get a look at your unique landscape situation to help you to get the right plants in the right place the first time. So that's the way we do it at Bates Nursery at Garden Center, and appreciate you giving us a moment here to discuss that and talk to you about your garden and getting the finishing touches done to it.
That's absolutely true. Hey, quick, before we go to our next Instagram question, I wanted to have a programming note. I sent out an at-homey alert yesterday. Our friends, the Restless, their new song is available to be streamed, and it's called If These Walls Could Talk. It was performed live in the amphitheater in the green room, and it is amazing. Please go out there and download that and get the girls some love.
Go back to our YouTube channel and actually view that one. But we recommend that you download that. They are really talented individuals, and we're really, it's been really fun getting to watch
them grow up, basically, David. I mean,
wonderful artists. So we're grateful to know those ladies.
Yep, absolutely. You got one for us over there, Trevor?
Oh, Trevor.
Maybe I don't. Speaking of what David was saying about the best time to plant, Pajama Girl asks, what's the best time to place and plant a Forsythia bush?
David?
You want to answer this one?
3:30, guys. Yeah, I mean, it's 3:30 is the absolute best time.
That's our stock answer for years, and we haven't got to use that one a whole lot on here. Of course, we say that in jest.
Yes.
But really, what it means is that there's no bad time to actually plant one. If you can find most of the Forsythia you're going to find, or most plants you're going to find at this point in time, are all either going to be a container grown plant, which is the predominant way, or they're going to be a balled and burlap plant that has already been dug while they were still dormant. Either way, you've got a plant that is not going to suffer from transplant shock. The main thing is when you plant it to work the soil a bit. You could do that, this weekend. If you get Earth Mix Garden, you can actually amend your soil with that. And it does a really great job of giving you great success. The main thing at this time of year is keeping watering in mind. We've got a break weather-wise this coming week, but we're going to have to be mindful of watering things the entire growing season. So just keep that in mind with whatever that you plant. Anything you planted a month ago has to be watered all summer as well. Not like there's special considerations. It's just you need to be mindful of it.
Well, and considering what's happening right before that nice long soaking rain yesterday, There was about 4 or 5 really pretty dry days down in 37167. I mean, it got the ground got real hard and dusty a bit. So you have to watch out and take care of the babies out there in the yard. We've had, through the magic of the movement here. I mean, did you crank up the transporter there from the home office, David Bates? And
we've got it on full power. We've got me now center screen. Austin is on the left side of the screen. You'll see there, and of course you're in your accustomed normal spot. Be on the throne, being the star of the program. We don't want to move.
I have to be center stage. I mean, but you're there. It's okay. But do we have another Instagram question?
We do, yeah. If you want me to throw it out there.
Sure.
Chelsea asks, mature pear trees aren't doing the best. Affordable options to save or care for them?
My assumption would we not assume, Austin, that they're talking about a fruiting pear?
Hopefully.
If it's an ornamental pear, chainsaw's the way to fix that. They're not a good choice.
Ground level pruning, yes.
Ground level pruning on those, but if it's a fruiting pear, it's unusual to have issues with those. They typically do quite well.
Mm-hmm. But also, too, it depends on how big and old it is. Pear trees can get a little rough as they age. Yeah, so sometimes like a nice, I'd hate to, I'm going to go severe prune on a pear tree sometimes may be what you want to get it back in check. I don't know how big it is, but sometimes just a real deep prune on them can kind of get some new limbs out there, get some new flowers and fruit. So that may be what's going on.
Is there a good way to fertilize them? A big mature tree like that?
A good way.
Fertilize them.
Do what?
It'd be fine to fertilize them if it's you're suggesting. However, if it is a really large tree, it may be the kind of situation where you want to bring an arborist in to actually do the pruning for it. If you're not really, really comfortable with a chainsaw, a lot of bad things can happen with a chainsaw, and only one good thing, and that's to cut the desired limb you want down. Right. All the other things are really bad. So if you're not the where you should be when I'm handling a chainsaw, I am on high alert and realize that thing wants to cut me to pieces at all times. And I have seen bad things happen to others. I've been able to avoid that. So if you're not accustomed to using one, better to get a professional in there. One thing you need to know, though, if you cut it back severely right now, you will not have fruit this year, or you certainly will have very minimal at best.
Yeah, we're going to do this pruning over the wintertime for sure.
But, wear your safety goggles anytime you operate a chainsaw. I mean, it throws stuff at high speed and small particles and bigger particles. Hearing protection is not bad with them either, because they end up putting out a few dBs, man. I'm telling you. What do you mean, DB?
Right. Which direction we going now, Tyler?
Yeah, another question you say, or
sure.
Okay. Let me see here. Okay, what do you do about snails in the garden?
You can use Sluggo, type of product that kills snails and slugs. They get annoying. It's something you can just apply to the ground, though. Shake it around your plants, and it works. It's pretty effective against snails and slugs.
You have to continue to reapply it. In the most difficult situation is where you're going into weather conditions like we're experiencing, or where it looks like we'll experience over the coming days this week. When you're having daily rains, it'll dissolve and it'll go away. So you kind of have to look for drier spots in between to be able to apply it effectively. And the snails will feed on it and it'll kill them. But if you apply it just before rain, you may not ever get that opportunity.
So you gave me a really good tip last year.
All products, read the directions completely before you use it, and it'll help you to understand that.
Yeah, and you gave me a really, really good tip last year. And again, I was trying to do it in the above ground garden because we were having a problem. And you suggested just putting it in the top of a lid of an old mayonnaise jar or caps from a water bottle or something like that, just to keep it, and that kind of keeps it contained without just getting all completely into the soil. So it was really easy to do, and it worked, man.
A lot of folks will, I have heard, put like a shallow cap, like a mayonnaise jar cap like that, but put beer in it stale beer. Now, I don't know.
I have done that and it worked.
So, they get in there.
Light beer?
And apparently,
Light beer? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
Now, is it full body beer or light beer that you have to use?
Whatever I
cheap.
don't want to drink.
An IPA? Yeah, let's get it.
Yeah, definitely an IPA. I don't like those.
So let's go down to Cary for a moment here and let's talk about what all she's got on hand and talking about today. She's going to kind of focus on Proganics I and indoor plants. So why don't you give us a little discussion about what you've got in front of you there?
Yeah,
and what
let's
you're
talk
gonna
about
do.
that for a minute. But real fast, I did want to talk about the garden because that's the first thing I ever bought at Bates Nursery years and years ago. I got a truckload of garden, which I used in one of my beds. Still using, haven't really added anything other than fertilizing my plants every so often. And all those perennials are doing fantastic. So I do love our garden, but I'm going to talk more about the indoor on my right, your left. As you can see, as we say every week, I have some house plants around me. You can see the bag that's hiding amongst all this beautiful foliage. It's a different formulation than the garden. It's got some perlite in it to help with drainage for all your indoor plants, since all of those are going to be potted. Earthworm castings, coconut fiber, and a lot of other great things. I use it for pretty much all of my indoor plants. For my succulent and cactus, I'll add perlite in, maybe some pine fines to help with drainage, and just add a little bit of air to the soil. But today I brought some plants from home, which is pretty exciting. This one that you see in front of me, I'm going to pull it forward, is a blue star fern. I repotted it into just a regular chain store-bought potting mix, which I'm not going to say what it is. But as you can see, the leaves are kind of small. They're a little bit droopy. It's been on my front porch. At the same time, I repotted the same fern into the indoor. This was probably about 2 months ago that I did it. So this is our Proganics I. Same plant, just different results. You can see these new leaves on either side. They're giant, coming out strong, and there's a lot of new growth towards the bottom. Now this one in the front, that's not our Proganics Earth Mix, hasn't really done much. So nice comparison. So you can kind of see results that you will get, or that I got from the Earth Mix products. So I love the indoor. I have like over 200 houseplants, and like I was saying, I use it for everything.
And I think that
stuff.
with the results that you're showing there are indicative of the difference. You can use any kind of a mix and your plants will likely survive it. But what if you really want your plants to thrive and do their very optimum, if you care about how well they do, using the Earth Mix line of products, in this case, Proganics I, which, as you mentioned, has coconut coir in it. We do use coconut coir rather than peat. Coconut coir is a more sustainable source of fiber that adds the porosity and the drainage. What it also inhibits the production of fungus gnats and the attraction of fungus gnats. So if you've ever been in a greenhouse setting or around your plants and you see these little gnats flying around, peat is very bad about attracting those and those fungus gnats. So by using Proganics I, you're really going to see a noticeable reduction in that incidence simply by not using peat in your potting soil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't had problems with that since I've switched to the Proganics I. So.
And peat is really a finite resource as well, isn't it, David? I mean,
to be able to produce like an inch of it. So it's very, these lichens and all these mosses that grow slowly. I mean, there's a lot of it up there. There's a big tundra up there in Canada, and I don't know that they're going to run out of it anytime soon. But to be sure, it's going away much faster than it's being produced. Coconut production, on the other hand, that's not the case. It does have to be brought from a much greater distance. But we really like the performance that we get out of it and the overall benefits of using coconut coir as opposed to using peat. One of the things I'll mention also, if you're looking for something that's a little heavier than the Proganics I, but something that's lighter than the garden, particularly while we've got this sale going on this weekend, and it's coming through this week, is you could mix them 1-to-1 ratio, those two products together, and get a good outdoor container potting mix, very similar to the Proganics O that we also offer. Now, that product's not on sale, but you can replicate that very closely just by mixing those two products together.
Yeah, I think about it for a raised bed veggies. Organics O or Organics I and garden together, 1-to-1. Say you need 20 bags of it, get 10 bags of each, mix them all together. You got a really good start to a mix for your veg.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What else you got over there on the table, Cary?
There's a lot going on. To my left, which we didn't talk about with Austin, we do have some tomatoes, peppers, lemongrass back here, which
Wow.
I don't know if you've ever grown that before, but it gets huge.
You can start from a little 4-inch lemongrass, and then by the end of the season, you've got a shrub. Not even. It's amazing
Oh, it
how
takes-
fast that grass grows.
5 feet tall,
Over.
6 feet tall.
Yes,
Yeah.
easy. And they don't come back. They don't return. It's an annual grass here. But still, you will be amazed at the amount, at the speed of that plant.
I know, it's amazing. You can dry it though, and then use it later, or
There
just
you
hang
go.
it up in your house because it
You
smells
can
lovely.
cook with it.
I was about to
Yes,
say.
you can cook
Yeah.
with it.
The dried
Well, the
dead
saving,
lemongrass just like hangs out there, and it still gives winter interest for what it's worth.
That's true. Yeah,
That's true. Yeah.
Looks like a nice brown fountain, kind of. So in
That's a blonde brown.
Those
blonde
kind of
brown,
results that Austin is talking about, you really got to have a good soil to grow them.
Yes.
And that's the Earth Mix Garden and Proganics are really going to be the difference maker, just like Cary showed on her 2 ferns that were a really good comparison.
Yeah, it's my favorite fern, by the way. Side
Now,
note.
what's the holy thing to your
The holy
the
thing.
holy thing,
It's
man?
a monstera. We have them in all different sizes up in the garden center right now. It's a really popular plant, super easy to care for. If you've got a window in the room, it likes highlight. It doesn't have to have bright light or direct light. But yeah, it's great. It climbs. You can propagate it easily.
Swiss cheese.
It's a good one. Swiss cheese, yeah.
People call it Swiss cheese.
With those
plant a lot.
holes in the leaves. Sounds like a helicopter just flew over.
Yeah, I think we got just grazed just now.
Yeah, that was exciting. But like I said, we have all different sizes. We actually have some huge 14-inch pots that are monsters. So if you're looking for a nice, thing to add to your living room, bedroom, kitchen, there you go. Monstera would be a great option.
That's a good front porch plant too for just a, kind of diffuse light type scenario where it doesn't need just intense bright light. But if you wanted it outside, if you can get those things bigger in the season, if you put them outside in your home, they'll live just fine. If you like them as a good look in your home. But if you want to get them big, get them out on the front porch, get them a little diffuse light, and they'll take off.
Now,
Yeah, that's where I've got mine right now, and it's already grown.
is it an understory plant in nature?
Typically, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it'll be planted usually.
Yeah, you'll
in
see it.
Florida.
It grows like up trees and up buildings in Florida, where it can live all year round. But they're cool plants. I took mine. Mine was just basically a one node that I propped a year ago, and it's almost this size. So that shows you how quickly it grows. And it's also growing in Proganics I. So there we go.
Well, absolutely. Well, and I mean, again, we talk a lot about the Earth Mix products, but folks, it's true. I mean, I've been using it since it was invented here at Bates when it first started out, and everything that David and the team tells you about it is absolutely correct. And you continually have improved it through the years, and you've broadened the line of spectrum of things that goes along with it and how it goes along with it, because it was a premium topsoil blend for the longest time, David Bates.
Hey, that's true. And we want to point out that I don't know if we can get a tight shot on Josh's shirt or not. That's a one of.
That is a one of.
Was it Aaron that did that? It was Aaron, not Eliza, right?
Eliza's not quite as artsy as the girl is, but no.
Anyway.
But yes, it was my youngest and creative child. But that is that is the variegated dirt shirt,
I've
and
never seen that shirt.
The one and only edition of the tie-dyed version of that shirt. But that is to say that we appreciate folks thinking about Earth Mix Garden products, and we also are greatly appreciative of all the other vendors there are around Metro Nashville, also across Kentucky, up into Indiana and Ohio. Simply go over to the website, earthmix.net. Now you can click on the Find Earth Mix tab, and when you scroll down the page there, you'll see all these pins of all of the various locations around the area. You can zoom in and hover over one of them. It'll tell you precisely who and where that is. You can get turn-by-turn directions to the nearest location to you. What you're going to find when you deal with the folks who sell Earth Mix Garden products is that you're dealing with a horticultural professional. It's not sold in box stores. You're going to deal with people who can steer you in the right direction and help you to make the right choices. One of those choices we feel like is Earth Mix Garden products. And it doesn't matter which one of the products you choose, are all sustainably produced, all 100% organic, and they're going to give you optimal growing results. Cary showed an illustration of the difference between two identical ferns when they were potted a few weeks ago, and the amount of growth difference is. You're going to find that throughout the line of Earth Mix Garden products. So remember this. Success in gardening begins at the ground level. When you use Earth Mix Garden products, we encourage you to go out there and support everyone who's a supplier of Earth Mix Garden products all around the area. So thank you for giving us a moment to talk about that.
Hey, got an Instagram question again. Wanting a pet-safe perennial garden. Any recommendations?
Keep the dog in the house.
There
Or
you
the
go.
cat.
That works.
You guys are killing it.
Those jokes are a specialty of mine.
I know
Perennials
Hugh Crow's
that we
one.
might offer that would be potentially injurious to a pet. I can't think of anything off the top
Really?
of my head. We got Austin.
No, I don't have anything that's just like right off the rip, totally
Hugh Crow's
poisonous.
pet-safe.
We'd have to know about the dog. I mean, or the cat. I mean, cats tend to chew on things a little bit more than dogs do, I think. But,
Yeah,
They do.
put some catmin in the garden or some catnip, and you might see your cat kind of going to that. And
Oh, they love it.
yeah,
My skipper key loved it. We had lemongrass one time growing beside the aluminum pond, and the fronds would go up through the pickets on the deck, and she would continually chew on them. We call her the crazy dog. But other than maybe running into the rose bushes and putting an eye out, I can't think of anything that would be particularly injurious.
no, I mean milkweed, Asclepius is not tasty. It's got latex that kind of comes out whenever you break them. I don't think a dog or cat would really like that. But gosh, there's multiple options of perennial plants to use that are safe for your pets.
Yep. I know
and
roses
the
are.
great thing about it from the other perspective, if you're worried about the plants themselves and what damage the pet might do to it, the great thing about perennials is they're largely herbaceous in nature, which means they die back to the ground every year. If you get one broken, it's not the end of it. It's just may take it a little while to recover, or certainly it will recover as it flushes out the next season.
Or flushes through the dog.
You're on fire today. Look at you go.
Well, I mean, there's been a lot of slime mold that's been showing up. I've seen on some of the
I have
spots.
seen some of that lately.
So maybe people are confusing what they see as slime mold with the obvious what it looks like.
Like dog vomit, and I don't know why people equate it with that. Well, I guess because you think, well, what else would have left such a mess like this? And it does appear that way. It is not overtly injurious pathogen. It does look nasty, and you might give your mulch a stir. Rainy conditions are going to make it a lot more prevalent. You could spray that with a fungicide to help mitigate it a little bit.
But the fungicides I imagine they're pretty popular up in the garden center this year because it has been so moist throughout this whole spring, and we get that nice warm humid day, and then boom, lots of stuff around the gardens there. Anything else on Instagram over there, Maximilian?
We are all out.
We're
That's
all
it.
out?
I shook the phone and no more questions fell
No
out.
more came out.
All righty. Well, folks, it's if you want to comment, we are here for you, and you can go to the At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates Facebook page. There's an At Home Show Instagram
now.
page now. The YouTube channel, of course, we encourage you to subscribe to that and see what's going on with it. But
And Tyler, of course, works through the week doing a lot of other things. He's always out, and he and Austin have been working on a new series over the last several weeks. It's Worth a Grow, and
Austin.
let's talk about the latest edition of that.
that one was spectacular. Yeah, go ahead and tell us about that.
It's worth talking about, and you had some really excellent recommendations about a very specific tree, Austin.
Yeah, was it this week was the black gum, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the wildfire black gum. That's a good plant. Fall color is money on that one. I mean, it comes out, really pretty red like I talked about, and then it's got multiple colors throughout the whole season with reds and greens and glossy foliage, and it's just a cool plant. And then in the fall, it just lights up. Like I said in the video, it rivals maples with their fall color. Everyone thinks about maples, in their fall color, which is real pretty. But the black gums not a lot of people know about that plant.
How big do they get?
They can get 70 foot or bigger.
Wow.
I mean, the big old trees can get real big. I mean, you rarely see them that big, but they can. They're kind of native around here too. I mean, they're kind of a southeastern kind of tree that's native. So easy to grow here. They're tolerant of our soils. They can take wet areas. They're commonly put in rain gardens. And they got multi-season interest, so it's worth a grow.
With Austin?
Yeah.
And the thing about it is that, I think that it's easy for homeowners to kind of get in a tree planting rut. Is they see certain trees, red maples, that's probably the most commonly used shade tree, and it's widely available. But it's overused, and being able to have an option like a black gum that will give you a very similar color and give you a different tree to have something. If you're looking for something where you're
Something unique now. Okay.
getting the same thing as what your neighbors are getting, you're more likely going to be have something that's unique.
Now,
and I think it adds interest to the landscape when you can kind of diversify the plant selection you have and not just have a few things. Now, I say that, and I've got an autumn blaze red maple in my front yard that I'm very pleased with. But it's a really fast grower. And we had a sugar maple that we had to take out a few years ago. That was a 140 or 50 years old tree. And it was in decline. It was going down, and it was going to fall on almost certainly on the house. It was just a question of when. So we elected to take it down, and then we dug all of the ground and dug all the stump out, replaced soil back in there, and then we moved the new tree out a bit further. One of the common mistakes that are made in landscaping is not allowing for the potential and ultimate size of a tree or a shrub. And we see that so often in the landscape, Austin, where that people plant something and they plant it in relation to the size it is currently without considering what this plant or tree is going to become ultimately.
Yeah, we see it all the time. It's you gotta space properly first. You got to allow for growth. People, you forget. I mean, you get one season in and you say it's still kind of small. You get two seasons in, you're like, oh, it's starting to grow a little. And then that third season, you're like,
bang.
Oh no.
Yeah. Now, is this
something wrong.
the black gum is different than the sweet gum?
Yes.
Correct. Now, the sweet gum is the one that drops all the sticker balls all over everybody.
Yeah, you don't want those. Yeah, okay. I mean, we do sell those, and that's a good plant too. I mean, they're
beautiful
truly
tree, but they're a mess. Yeah,
they can definitely be a mess once they start getting big. Black gums are nowhere near as messy.
You said something, David?
There are fruitless sweet gums as well that will not produce those balls that go down on the ground everywhere. So yeah, that's likely a better choice.
We have two questions on the Facebook page, folks, and first is from Bill Hayes, and he wants to know: is there a top and a bottom to the weed barrier and landscape fabrics that lets the water go through?
Either way. I mean,
either way. The main thing is that when you put that weed barrier fabric down, it is a product made by DuPont called Typar.
David, may I stop you there? It is not the house wrap product. It is a fabric that is designed to be used in the gardens. Now, Bill spends some time around some construction sites, so I would hope that, and there is an in and out on Typar house wrap.
The point I was going to make is that it will be a permanent installation so long as you keep it covered with mulch. If it gets exposed to sunlight, it will degrade and break down and start falling apart. So you'll lose the weed barrier properties of it. Now, there's no weed barrier you can use that's going to be particularly effective if you've got problem weeds like Bermuda grass or Johnson grass. They will find wherever the light's coming through, and ultimately, when you install this, it's going to relegate the weed growth to coming up directly around where your shrubs are. So hopefully you have done a good job prior to installing a weed barrier fabric of getting rid of those rhizomous types of grasses in particular, because they really are unrelenting. They will continue to push new growth out. So that's a difficult problem. As far as which side will work, I usually put it with the smoother side up. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, there's no particular reason for that. I guess if you had a sloped surface and you were afraid that the mulch material, say it was pine bark,
would slide off.
It might be better to put the rougher side up. That way it would have a less tendency to move on top of the weed barrier fabric.
Now, what's the one that we don't recommend to be used at the at-home show? And that's when people talk about weed barrier fabric, inevitably they're talking about plastic.
You don't want to use something that's going to make a total block. Now, where black plastic can be very beneficial, particularly if you have a large area that you're wanting to rid yourself of, say, Bermuda grass, you're wanting to sterilize it and you don't want to use chemical means, you can take a solid sheet of black plastic and cover over an area, weight it down, and leave it on there for a couple of 3 weeks. Particularly if it's in the full sun, it's going to sterilize that soil. And when you remove it, you're going to have a completely clean palette to begin to work with. It'll kill everything off. Now you might want to add something like maybe Earth Mix Supernatural to the soil to reintroduce some microbes into the soil when you've done that, because it really is a sterilizing process. That's the one good use of it, but it's not good if you're using black plastic around your shrubs, because it really keeps water from being able to get into the plants, and more importantly, keeps the water from being able to evaporate and get out of there. So you can create two different problems, either by not getting enough moisture or by not being able to dry out.
Right. Now, do you think folks get confused with what they see on the like the strawberry farms that we see around through Middle Tennessee, with the fact that's a different kind of specific agricultural use kind of a product?
They lay that before they lay that black plastic, they lay a drip line up underneath that you don't ever see. So that's what they're doing. They've got water that they can pump to them up underneath that black plastic. And I did that in college, actually. We did that. We would lay the drip line first and then the black plastic over top, and then you grow your berries right in that. It's excellent weed control, because if you've grown strawberries before, the weeds are terrible. They spread, and it's hard to get weeds out of there once they're in it. So yeah, using the black plastic in that scenario is better, but they definitely have irrigation up underneath that, so water can get to the plants.
Okay.
In a situation like that is that the berries are hilled up, so you have created a situation where drainage is going to be very positive. So the likelihood of them staying too wet, even with black plastic over them, is really mitigated due to the way that they are physically have the contour of the ground formed.
All righty. Got another question, and we have this one from Jake Dickerson. I know Jake likes to kill things. He really does. He likes to kill bugs. He likes to kill grasses. He likes to kill all kinds of stuff. But what is the best way to kill grass on a gravel driveway?
Roundup.
Josh?
Pavement.
It does work. Now there are.
He's also a cheap rascal, so I mean he wants to get out there and pave it, boo.
Yeah. Now Roundup is a non-selective herbicide, but it's a contact spray. It does not provide any lasting coverage for weed control. You could choose to use a non-selective herbicide. Things such as under the brand name Pramitol, products that contain sodium chlorate, sodium metaborate. There are a lot of salts that are known to be very effective at sterilizing the soil where nothing can grow in it. Now, a cautionary statement about using those kinds of things is when you apply it, it needs to be watered in so that that chemical gets a chance to dissolve and soak directly into the soil over which you're trying to control the weed growth. If you get a big rain or something that occurs before it has had a chance to dissolve, that water can actually move it to an unintended area. Consequently, you could kill something that you're not intending to kill. So be mindful. It is non-selective. It will last for at least a year, possibly 2, depending on what you use. So understand that product well, and always we try to talk to folks about read the label. You must understand.
He follows instructions pretty good. So, I mean, he'll read all the pages most of the time. So, all righty. Because evidently Roundup is just not cutting it. And again, even at the easiest point, you can go to Roundup Quick Pro, and it might burn it back a little bit quicker. But if you want it really for the long term, what David is suggesting is probably the best way to go with it. Now, is that a granular or is it a liquid form that you were talking about?
You're going to find those in a granular or pelletized is the form that I really prefer using. The granulars, you can get a fair amount of dust associated with it. And, the pelletized, because they are compacted little pellets, you really don't get that dust factor. If you're just doing a small area, it doesn't matter all that much, because you can very carefully. One thing we know we all have access to are face covers where you can filter out the inhalation of dust. Certainly, you want to be mindful of that if you're handling that kind of thing. If you're using it in a liquid form, whether you're spraying a herbicide or if you're spraying an insecticide or fungicide, doesn't really matter.
Don't breathe it.
You want to use your sprayer at a low pressure. The biggest mistake folks makes when they are spraying is they over pressurize their sprayer and they fog the nozzle setting. And what that does is that atomizes, creates these very small particles that can float, and they will travel to unintended areas if there's any movement in the air at all. It doesn't have to be a breeze or any wind. It's just movement in the air. So it's so important to make sure that you only give enough pressure and adjust your nozzle down where it is kind of like a V shaped. That way you can target exactly where you want it. It increases the droplet size. It reduces the amount of travel on those, and it also reduces the chances for any kind of direct contact to the user. And that really is the most important thing. You don't want to use some kind of chemical that's going to be injurious to yourself. So wearing the proper equipment, eye protection, face cover, and rubber gloves, even a rain jacket, depending on what you're doing, might be necessary. But keep your hands and face and your eyes protected at all times when you're using any of those chemicals. And again, I know we've said it 3 times already today. Read the directions. There's all kinds of information on there. Do not assume because you used it last year that you remember exactly how to use it this year.
Or mix it up or do whatever it is you're going to go. Now, the soil sterilant that you were talking about, sure, Dickens has probably got a product like that, and then probably the local co-op area, co-ops would have that kind of stuff.
And Pramitol is one product name I referenced. Now, you're going to notice it's really expensive. This stuff
He's got plenty of money. So, I mean, he's got plenty of money.
$4 a pound. It's very effective. It'll last an entire year, and if it's applied correctly, it will give you excellent results in an area where you do not want regrowth at all.
Absolutely. All righty, folks. We're coming up toward the end of the program. David, you wanted to mention again that that Bates is open Monday for the morning time,
9 a.m. until noon on Monday. So get out early on Monday and come see us. Again, we have a special going on through Thursday of next week, and that includes today. Earth Mix Proganics Eye and Earth Mix Garden are both on sale in bags for 30% off. So come on out and stock up and get your late spring planting completed. We still have a great selection of everything for your garden. Be it landscape plants for foundation plantings around your house, or trees, as Austin was referencing earlier.
Black gum trees.
There you go.
Tropical plants, or vegetable garden plants. A lot of folks think, well, it's too late now. Hey, it's not. Get out there and get them planted. And if you use good stuff to plant it with it, like Earth Mix, you're going to get the results, and you're going to quickly start yielding tomatoes and peppers and all other kinds of things that you're wanting to harvest from your garden.
Alrighty. Now we want to thank everybody for sitting in for Michael. I mean, it took a team of two to fill him up. Let's don't blow his head up next week when he comes back in. But
we appreciate what Michael does and what he brings to the program every week. And one thing that the At Home Show has never been short on is attitude. So he's falls right in line.
Yep. Now, if you come out to Bates on Monday, bring the staff some donuts or some bagels and cream cheese, and some stuff like that. Some soft drinks. They're having to work on Memorial Day. Be nice to them. Okay, spend lots of money, but donuts and bagels with bagels. Ooh, croissants, chicken biscuits.
Ooh, chicken biscuits. Yeah, I'll take that, but I won't be here Monday.
Oh, okay. Pulling seniority. I get it.
One day
Okay.
off.
All righty.
So, hey, well, we appreciate everybody tuning in today. Hope you come out and see us and enjoy this cool reprieve from the heat from last week. It's a great gardening time. Come out and see us at Bates Nursery and Garden Center.
All right, for everybody here in the Green Room studio, we thank you for participating, and we all the time go out to the At Home Show with Josh, Cary, and Dave Bates Facebook page. Subscribe, like it, hit the button as you go along with it. Go to YouTube, do that. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us. Hey, by the way, wherever you get your podcasts, you can hear the At Home Show there too. So we'll be here for you when you need us. But next Saturday morning at 8 o'clock, we'll be live from the Green Room studio.